Since high volume, high frequency training is such a productive way to train, and it works so well for guys like Arnold and all the other bodybuilders in the 60s and 70s, why don't more people train this way today? This was a great question that I got asked recently on an Instagram Q&A, and it's something that I could answer in multiple ways. Because when you say no one really uses this style of training anymore, are you referring to guys in the gym looking to build more muscle, or are you talking about seasoned pros who are established in their careers? Either way, I agree 100%. Most guys are not following this style of training. And the answer as to why could be for two separate reasons. So let's jump into the video and discuss them. Alright, so today, you walk into any gym in the world. The majority of guys that are in there looking to build more muscle are most likely following a typical body part split style of training. And I'd say when you take top pro bodybuilders, about 90% of them are following that as well. So again, the main question is, why aren't more people following a similar style of training from guys like Arnold and the bodybuilders in the 60s and 70s? After all, they did have some of the most impressive physiques of all time. But first, let's talk a little bit more about average guys in the gym that are looking to bulk up and build more muscle, why they might not be following this style of training. And off the top of my head, the main reason that they're not is because it's hard. It's actually a very hard way to train. And in fact, I always make the argument that high volume, high frequency training is way harder than what the hardcore bodybuilders preach when they talk about how low volume, high intensity training is the hardest style of training. And the reason it doesn't work for most people is because they don't work hard enough. Let me tell you something though. If I have a high volume 20 set leg workout that consists of squats, hack squats, leg press, and lunges, any day of the week, I'd rather walk in the gym and hit 2 to 3 hard sets to absolute failure, get out of the gym, go home and rest, than to do that crazy high volume workout. But the main reason I don't do that and I stick with that high volume style of training, the low volume, it doesn't produce the same results for me. So I personally choose productive training over what my personal preference is, but most people don't. And that's why you see most guys following that typical bro split style of training in the gym. It's much easier to just train the chest or train the shoulders and leave, versus having to combine them into one workout or train them across multiple sessions per week. Now, the main reason many other people stick to the bro split is simply because of the fact that they're just following what pro bodybuilders are doing today. I can't tell you how many guys I know that just randomly follow training plans because their favorite pro bodybuilder or influencer trains that way. But at the same time, those same people are not following everything that the pros do. They're not following the nutrition plan, they're not following the supplementation plan, and they're not living, eating, and breathing like a bodybuilder. So no wonder that training style doesn't work for them. But now, what about the actual pro bodybuilders that these guys are following? Let's not leave them out. After all, almost all of them are exclusively following some type of body part split style of training. And obviously, they're massive. They're some of the most impressive bodybuilders on the planet, some of the biggest physiques the world has ever seen. So this style of training must work, right? I mean, look at them. This is a huge misconception, as this style of body part training or extremely low frequency training that they're doing now is something they transitioned into later in their careers and is not actually what they used to build their foundation. Most pro bodybuilders today actually built their foundation using higher volume, higher frequency training plans. Once they built that base and had pro level amounts of muscle, they might need to bring up just one single body part at their next pro show to advance in their career or to win the next title. These guys aren't training to build another 20 or 30 pounds of muscle. They have the muscle they need. Their goal is just to refine their physique. So the main goal, hold on to that muscle mass, but just build some more muscle and detail to certain parts of the body that they need to improve. So in that case, you can actually make the argument that lower volume, lower frequency training might work better, as again, their goal is not muscle gain, but refinement. But don't take this as an argument or a reason that you should go and apply this style of training, as we're only talking about a super small percentage of the entire bodybuilding population. And even then, there's still many cases that top pro bodybuilders in the world never lowered their frequency or volume. Obviously, we have all the guys in the 60s and 70s, but even more when we're talking a bit more recent in bodybuilding history, you have guys like Branch Warren, who's massive, extremely strong, and trains extremely intense. He built the majority of physique using a typical push-pull leg split, training 6 days a week, hitting each body part twice every 7 days. Another great example is Ronnie Coleman. He never left that 6-day per week training split, hitting body parts multiple times per week, training with a ton of volume and a ton of intensity. And even when you take Dorian Yates, the guy that everyone argues as the example of someone who built his physique using low volume, high intensity training. Early in his career, he actually built the majority of his muscle following a much more high frequency approach, training body parts every 4 to 5 days. And he even trained with more volume than he did later in his career. Maybe it wasn't considered high volume, but compared to what he was doing when he was doing 1 or 2 sets to failure, he was training with much higher volume. So when we're talking about pro bodybuilders and their training style, it's all specific to the individual goal and the place that they're at. And when we're talking about you, and if mass is your goal, the typical body part split is probably not the most optimal way to go about it. And obviously, if you're asking for my opinion and you're looking for the best program to build muscle and want to do so using proven old school bodybuilding training methods, the ones that I put together in my 5-day old school mass gain program, you can find that down below in the description. And as always, if you guys want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.